So let's talk about this Kendrick halftime show. Yeah, so let me explain myself. I baited a little bit with the title here. I am satisfied with what Kendrick gave us last night. I was worried going in. I was nervous for him because I know Kendrick is very much an artist. Excuse my kids yelling in the background. They're playing Tekken. They're playing Tekken 8. I'm very proud. So this was pretty much the exact halftime performance that I wanted and expected from Kendrick. Because what I didn't want to have to do is give Kendrick the same treatment we gave Beyonce when she did the Black Panther halftime show almost 10 years ago now. That's haunted her really since then, if we're fair. Let's get the clear politics out the way. The NFL is a multinational evil corporation, one of the worst. Do millions of dollars worth of propaganda and support for the American military apparatus. He was brought in by Jay-Z. We all know the problems with Jay-Z. He would not be allowed to do much or say much as the halftime performer. And so what ends up happening is we get what Beyonce did, which is we're going to symbolically do something radical. What it ends up being is a co-option of that radical energy. I don't like that shit. I'm happy Kendrick didn't really do anything. There's a possibility that there's things about the halftime show that I don't fully get yet, and I'll be waiting for other people to deep dive into it to say, oh, this meant this, this meant that. I thought the Uncle Sam thing was cute. I think what we got at best was a meta commentary on what it means to be a Black celebrity performing this type of event, which was pretty cool. If you didn't catch it, the show basically had 3 acts. Act 1 was Kendrick trying to be himself, right? He starts out with that unreleased song. I think somebody said his name, Bodies. He says the revolution will be televised, which, and we introduce Samuel Jackson. I think it's a very purpose of the line livery. Sam gets up and says, hey, it's your Uncle Sam. And he says it just like that. And if there's one reach I'll make, I think that's a commentary on Snoop Dogg and Nelly and all of them. Because at the end of the day, they're performing for Donald Trump. They didn't know that going into it, but that was the performance. You have Samuel Jackson as Uncle Sam. Samuel Jackson has a pretty radical background. For those who don't know, like Sam Jack is was about that life in his youth before he got into acting. There's a story about him at Morehouse College and some other students taking over a campus building, but he was about that life. And so you see at the beginning, Kendrick is being a bit more aggressive, and you're like, oh, maybe we will get something that is provocative. Again, I want to be clear. I wasn't looking or desiring anything provocative from Kendrick here. I'm still refining. I'm developing new takes on like what I want from Black art in our political reality right now. But I do know I don't want half measures from Black artists anymore. I don't want them to try to have their cake and eat it too and end up just doing something that's co-opted and counterinsurgent. I'm just over that. Sound mixing was ass. We'll get to that in a second. So yeah, so he has this first act. He starts out with the body song. The body song is as provocative as I think he got. And then Samuel Jackson tells him to calm down and play the hits. He calms down, plays the hits. We get Humble, DNA, both actually relatively aggressive tracks. We get this American flag motif. I've had a lot of people read that differently. I stand by the point I said earlier, which is not earlier, but like months ago when I talked about this, which is I'm not much for reclaiming the American flag. I'm sure there's a logic behind it, but it falls flat for me. However, it is clear he was trying to say something there. What? I'm not sure. Again, I'll be waiting for other people to really break this down and like give the full talk on all the different symbology. I do think it was purposeful that the American flag was made up of all Black men. There's something to that. That's not an accident that he got all Black men to make up this American flag. There's people saying, well, this is, speaking to how America is built off our backs, or, the relevance of Black men's voting patterns. I don't know. But it was something. I didn't quite get it. Whatever it was, I don't think it was meant to be very explicit or demonstrative in his messaging. I think he just wasn't allowed to do that. And, fine. Like, again, I wouldn't have wanted him to do much more than that because it's on the fucking Super Bowl. It's just, to me, it makes more sense to do something not so provocative on that stage because it immediately becomes co-opted. There's a great video. I think Broy Deschanel made it. And I also talked, I don't know, this particular take developed to me all at once. I got it from a Bro Chanel video. It probably was Dr. Ball. Looking forward to what Dr. Ball says about this. I'm sure he'll have some classic stuff on it. And somebody else, they talked about the fact that there's a thing called jester's privilege. Bro Chanel talked about it with the Barbie movie. And basically, it's a really slick co-op counterintelligence type thing that happens with these giant corporations and these giant media companies where they will allow themselves to be critiqued on their platforms, in their media. They will say, yeah, you can like the Barbie movie. Oh yeah, call us all the things. Call and tell all the things. Talk all about all the bad parts of our company, but in our movie. And so what they do in doing that is they immediately undercut the critique. So having Barbie be criticized heavily within a Barbie movie, it ends up being a half measure. I'm happy that Kendrick didn't go much further than he did, because I'd have been more annoyed by him doing something more grand on the NFL's dime. It's just, that's me. I'm sure there's a take that's different that I don't get, and I'm looking forward to hearing those. Maybe I'll change my mind, but that was me. So he plays the hits, then SZA comes out, he throws a little jab at Drake. We'll get to that in a second too. They do some more hits, and then Sam Jack comes the second time to correct them. Probably the most overtly provocative moment was the snippet of Man at the Garden he did, where he was on the corner, and it's all these very overtly black male images on the corner with him under the streetlight. Brother with locks and golds, everybody's got white tees and jeans. That again speaks to this motif of like us not going anywhere, us being a black people, black men specifically, being a clear part of the national fabric. Yeah, cool. SZA comes out, and yeah, somebody said it. Oh no, I don't agree with this. Everybody's mic was trash. SZA's mic, SZA did not feel ready for the spotlight. I don't know if that was just mixing in the thing, but the sound was so much louder than her. Like I could barely hear her on All the Stars. Audio engineer was not ready for the big game. Then Sam Jack comes out, and he like speaks to the fact like, all right, you did good. Everything was safe. We go home. And then he comes back and he does not like us and turn the TV off. Turn the TV off. He does only the second verse with the mustard part, or I don't know if that's maybe the third verse. Is there two verses? I don't know. And so Turn the TV Off has some subversive stuff going on there. It has the game motif at the beginning. And so this is my take right now. Again, Kendrick is recognizing that he's a part of a game and playing a game. Turn the TV off. A lot of people did. The Super Bowl lost 1.8 million watchers after the the halftime show, from what I hear. And maybe there's a through line between the revolution will be televised and Turn the TV off that I'm just now thinking about. Because my takeaway and thing I would like to put out there from the halftime show is people need to stop looking for artists and people like Kendrick to be revolutionaries. Take your ass outside. I saw a lot of people that seem to be upset and angry that Kendrick didn't do something bigger and more demonstrative with Trump there, with America watching, after this election, with all the stuff happening in our government right now, etc. And you want Kendrick to come and be your catharsis for all the things that you need to be handling yourself. And he's like, nah, turn the TV off. That's how I'm gonna take it. I fucks with that one. So yeah, so like I think that's the best he could have did. Would I have, as a Kendrick fan and a person suffering in this current political reality right now, I would have loved for something big and overt and dynamic from Kendrick for this Super Bowl performance. I would have loved that. That would have been amazing. I don't think that would have been the right thing, because what we don't need from our artists right now is catharsis. Whatever desire you had for Kendrick to go up there and do something big and grand and meaningful that makes you feel like you're part of the resistance just by watching him, for him not to do that for you and to force you to sit in that energy, I think that's the best possible thing he could have done. That's how I feel about it. I didn't want a big grand thing from him. I wanted exactly what we got. What we got was a cool, somewhat provocative, a couple little nuggets halftime show with just enough meat where people feel like there was something there, and maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Again, I'll let other people analyze and come up with their takes, and then we move on. Yeah, there you go. I think I hyped it up to be bigger after I heard the president would be there and knowing who Kendrick is. I should have known better. You cannot and you should not, like anybody that feels, if you felt vexed after Kendrick's performance because it didn't give you the catharsis, take that energy to the streets this weekend. Go to a meeting, hit the Google, see what I guarantee you there's a mutual aid fund in your city or state you could be donating to. You could be doing so many things to get you that same catharsis that are actually more meaningful and useful than having a big celebrity say the thing for you on TV. Kendrick is not your savior. We're 3-4 years deep into that slogan at this point. The only other thing that's bad about it is the vocal qualities. It hit me that Kendrick is the first rapper to completely do the Super Bowl by himself. The last time we had it was Dr. Dre and Snoop and Kendrick and Eminem. That was pretty good, but they got to split the effort. I don't know if y'all understand, especially for a rapper. It's hard for a singer too, but for a rapper, that's a really hard performance. Like to be running around doing limited choreography, to remember all your lyrics, to cut out the curse words, to do a lot of that. That is top tier breath control. Like people don't know, like rapping is not easy to do, period. It's not easy to do live. And you add choreography and running around a stadium or football field to get that crisp say Drake, that was really impressive. If only the audio engineer could hold up his end of the bargain. It was very, very, very impressive in that regard. All right, let's talk about the Drake slander. That was the most satisfying part of the performance for me. I knew they would play Not Like Us. They played it at the Grammys. The lawsuit doesn't have any teeth. I was like, they're gonna play Not Like Us. To preview at the beginning and throw in they would sue line, I'm like, oh, okay. I like that happened. To get Euphoria, I didn't think we were getting Euphoria. So I was happy about that. You didn't get all of Euphoria. We didn't get the best parts, but still, it's like, oh, okay, we're really in there. The Uncle Sam character's like, we're playing it safe. All right, let's take him home. And he's not happy about Not Like Us, which again, there's multiple meanings there. First, we get the Say Drake line where he looks at the camera. I just don't know. I don't know what it feels like to have that happen. Never has a rap beef taken the national stage. The president saw Kendrick Lamar call Drake a pedophile. It was funny looking at right-wing Twitter, seeing them try to make sense of what they saw. But they all, like right-wing, this is how you know what the best, clearest parts of the performance were. There's parts of right-wing Twitter that are really angry at Kendrick Lamar because they just saw a black person saying stuff and they said DEI, woke, and whatever. There's some parts that are trying to say, yeah, this is an affirmation of how great the country is and Trump, et cetera, et cetera. So obviously that's not the case, but whatever, somewhere in between. But all of them understood fuck Drake. Like all of them understood that this was bad for Drake. And so to have Kendrick do Not Like Us, he didn't say pedophile. He cut that out. They probably told him he couldn't say that out loud. He's cut a lot of things for this. But when he did the A minor line, they turned the lights up in the stadium, they turned off the music so you could hear 50, 60,000 people from all over the country and the world. And so all I can do is imagine that there are people in there that didn't know what was happening, that still don't know what the hell was happening with this beef. As a community, the other people in the crowd said, hey, look, there's a part of this song coming up, and I need you to yell A minor as loud as you can. And somebody said they zoomed out so you could see them, so you could see the crowd. That's just wild business. And I don't really know. I don't know what to say with that. I hope that this is the cherry on top, because I'm overall done with the beef. I was looking forward to this for that final victory lap. I'm actually looking forward to Drake with the melodies this weekend. I'm looking forward to hearing Party Next Door and Drake's album. I know there's gonna be at least 3 or 4 songs I'm gonna like. And I think that's all I got. The performance was mid, and not in a bad way. It was literally a medium measure. It was taking the medium route on a difficult role to play as a conscious political rapper. You can't compare this to Prince. You can't compare it to, I think Usher did a better job last year. It was better than Rihanna a couple of years ago. I love Rihanna, but that was a pretty bad one. It wasn't better than The Weeknd a couple of years ago. People didn't like The Weeknd's one. I love that Weeknd performance. That was like watching an anime opening live. It was so weird and out there. If there's one thing I'm gonna hold as a victory from a GOAT, is that there was some guy in the background with a Palestine flag that also had Sudan written on it. Did he get on TV? Did anybody see him get on TV? I didn't see it, but he definitely was there in the show as a part of what was going on. I don't know how he got there. I hope they don't try to charge him with terrorism in our current political climate, but he was on the GNX. He was on the car. So part of me feels like that was not an accident. I feel like you don't get to the core of the show's main prop. So like, that's dope. That's one subversive thing that came out of it. But again, that wasn't on the main stage for everybody to see. Yeah, he was dressed just like a dancer, so I don't know. That's pretty much it. Yeah, I think this is a fair take. Kendrick's performances are close enough to the edge, to the line without crossing them most of the time. I knew we weren't getting something super heavy when he cut Hate Popo out at the last Super Bowl performance, when he cut Hate Popo out of the Amazon performance. This is a paid check. It is what it is. And again, my thesis is that's an overall good thing. I would prefer radical art remain radical and not co-opted by putting it on the Super Bowl on Fox, right? Where we gotta watch Fox News anchors do Super Bowl commercials. Like, maybe I'm weird for that. Maybe I'm weird, and I'll hold that. But I don't want performative radicalism anymore. I'm over that shit. So the fact that he gave us a mid-half measure, best possible outcome, Panther Fist homage at 1. Oh, they did do that a little bit. I do recall that might be like a top tier moment for like radical acts on a stage. Let's do a little Black history. In my head, everybody knows this, but I understand that a lot of people don't. What Killer Porpoise is talking about here is Tommy Smith and John Carlos were Olympians. This is 1968. This is after King has been killed. This is the height of the Black Power movement starting up in the 60s. They win their medals and they put on black gloves and put their fists in the air. And here is the difference, and like an important distinction to make for like real radical performance art, doing something that's really radical. There's real risk involved, right? And there's consequences. And the bigger the stage, the bigger the consequences. These two men lost their medals. They took the medals away from these men when they got home. They didn't get them back until like the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. Do you want Kendrick to risk his career for a performative message at the Super Bowl? You might. Me personally, no. I don't think it's very useful. This moment in the 60s, critical mass for the Black Power movement, much bigger deal than the political reality we're in right now. I prefer people not to overreach what they're actually doing. I do not think that in the mainstream, hip hop is in a very healthy place. It's just not. What are you gonna do? And so I don't think there's a lot of discrediting that can happen. I know something weird is happening because I was playing Madden the other day and a country song came. That's how you know hip hop's not in the best place. If you understand Madden, to have freaking Jelly Roll song pop up while I'm playing Madden blew my mind. You haven't heard a non-rap song on Madden in like 15 years. But they were like, you know what? We need to switch it up. Let's get some Brett Weiland. The best thing happened last night for Kendrick Lamar. He left this performance with his legacy intact. He did not embarrass himself. He did not do anything that's going to get him dragged by Black Twitter. He didn't put himself on any extra government lists. I don't think you can ask for anything else except for better sound mixing.